Hey amazing parents, it's Dr. Lindsay here with this week's psychology-based parenting tips about unconditional positive regard, the key to showing your child you love them even when they make mistakes. How does your child know that you love them? One day when they're older, your child will reflect back on their childhood and remember all the times that you told them you loved them. They'll remember when you showed them you loved them by lending them a helping hand or offering comfort and support. They'll remember all the times that you cooked for them and shuttled them around to friends' houses and activities. They'll remember the times that you gave them something just because you thought that they'd really like it. And they'll remember all the times that you treated them with unconditional positive regard. So what is unconditional positive regard? It's a concept popularized by humanistic psychologist Carl Rogers in the 1950s that involves accepting and valuing individuals without judgment or conditions. Unconditional positive regard means fostering a non-judgmental environment, focusing on acceptance, respect, and support. It's a key element in my parenting philosophy and falls under the communication category in my 5 C's parenting framework. There's a link in the description below this video to an episode where I talk about the 5 C's if this is the first time you've heard of them. It's easy to support your child when they're having good behavior, but what about when their behavior is less than ideal? When they've gotten angry and hit their sibling, when they've tried to carry too much to the table and spilled the cereal all over the floor, and when they've gotten so frustrated that they've torn up their homework. It's normal to find these types of behaviors upsetting as a parent. It's normal that your first reaction might be to think, "How could you?" or "I told you not to," or "You little." What's very important is that you don't say those things to your child. They deserve the same love and support from you during tough times that you show them during happy times. Nobody is perfect. Children are growing and learning how to handle their emotions and integrating so much new information every day, they're bound to make mistakes from time to time. You want your child to know that they can always count on you to love and support them no matter what mistakes they make along the way. Think about what a child who has unconditional positive regard from their primary caregiver would look like. They would feel more comfortable in their own skin and more accepted by the world. They would feel more confident and willing to try new things. They would be more open to discussing challenges they encounter or questionable events they experience with their parent. Their parent-child relationship would be strong. Now envision a child without unconditional positive regard from their primary caregiver and what that would look like. That's a sad thought. We brought these kids into the world and we owe it to them to be their biggest cheerleaders. Now, unconditional positive regard doesn't mean excessively praising your child. We want our kids to develop a positive yet realistic self-impression and a sense of competence, but not hubris. Let's get into some specific examples of how you can be sure you're using unconditional positive regard. Okay, example 1, your child has gotten angry and hit their sibling. You think to yourself, "How could you?" But instead, you say, "Sweetie, I see that you're very upset, but it's not okay to hit. I love you and I know that you're a good person. Let's talk about some better ways to handle those strong emotions you're feeling, and then we'll check in with your brother." Example number 2. Your child carried way too much on the way to the breakfast table and spilled their cereal all over the floor, and the bowl broke. You think to yourself, "I told you not to do that," but instead you say, "Oh gosh, you were trying so hard to get to breakfast. Can I help to clean things up? Maybe next time this will be a 2-trip kind of meal." Example number 3. Your child got frustrated with their homework and tore the papers in half. You think, "You little." But instead, you say, "Let's take a break from your homework. You're a bright kid, but learning new things is challenging and can feel overwhelming at times. We'll come back to this and figure out how to resolve the situation a little later." I'd love to hear more examples from you in the comments of how you've used unconditional positive regard in your family. In each of these examples, you're letting your child know that the specific behavior they exhibited, hitting too much, carrying too much, or tearing up their homework, is not okay. But you're making it clear that your child is still good. You may be disappointed in the outcome, but you're not disappointed in them. Everybody makes mistakes as they learn and grow, and those mistakes don't make you a bad person. If you remember nothing else from this episode, remember that. You may feel disappointed by a specific behavior or the outcome of a situation, but that's very different from telling your child that you're disappointed in them. This concept is important for all children, but especially for children who are more sensitive to feedback. If you have a child who is either gets quiet or solemn or very defensive and reactive when they make a mistake, they may be especially sensitive to feedback. It's important to use concise and non-judgmental feedback with them to prevent a relatively small incident from feeling like a catastrophe to them. Without negative judgment, your child is still learning what they need to learn from these life experiences to continue to grow into caring, responsible, and independent adults. They're also learning that they can come to you whenever something bad happens to them, and that you will show them love and support without judgment. That will come in very handy if they ever run into trouble during those tricky teenage years. And just think about how well this approach will set you up for a wonderful, lifelong relationship with your child. All that is on top of building your child's internal sense of self-esteem and self-confidence that I already mentioned earlier. Let's focus on resilience for a minute. Resilience refers to a child's ability to adapt, cope, and bounce back from challenges, setbacks, or adversities that they may encounter in life. Are there resilient children who did not experience unconditional positive regard as children? Absolutely. Do I think that a child is more likely to become resilient if they were raised with unconditional positive regard? Yes. Life is full of challenges. Knowing they always have you in their corner as an emotional safety net can go a long way in helping kids overcome these challenges. Let's raise our kids to be resilient by showing them unconditional positive regard. My challenge for you this week is to try to catch yourself the next time something unfortunate happens in your home. Then take a slow, deep breath while you pause and think about how you could respond in a non-judgmental manner. Offer feedback in a supportive way. See the difference in how your child reacts to the event and see the difference in the mood around the event. Show yourself some grace because change takes time, but each time you make a conscious choice to respond to the behavior rather than to judge your child, you'll start to see a step in the right direction for their sense of self and your relationship with them. Good luck, amazing parents. Now, using unconditional positive regard to guide communication with your child is part of the communication category in my 5 C's parenting framework. If you're new to the 5 C's, look in the description below this video to find more parenting resources, including a video about the 5 C's parenting framework and a link to sign up for my weekly newsletter to be sure you never miss any of my new tips. Okay, amazing parents, that wraps up today's episode. Thanks for joining me to fill your parenting toolbox with psychologist-based tools to feel more confident and capable in your parenting. If you found this video helpful, I'd invite you to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more parenting with psychology tips. Join me next week to learn the importance of maintaining a consistent bedtime across all ages of your child's development. In the meantime, check out my free resources listed below in the description and keep up the good work on your amazing parenting journey. My weekly tips are also available to read on my website or to listen to on your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to connect with me more regularly and join the Parenting with Psychology community, follow Parenting with Psychology on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I love hearing from you, so please leave a comment below and let me know how you've been using these tips in your parenting practice or about any topics you would like me to cover in future episodes. Finally, a quick legal disclaimer. Please note that the advice provided in this episode is different than therapy and does not serve as a substitute for professional psychological treatment or other types of professional advice or intervention. If you or your child have concerns or need further parenting or personal support, please contact a physician or other qualified local health professional. See you next week, amazing parents.